Welcome back to Kalman Web Design. Today, I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can harness the power of AI art generators, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe XD to create a website design for an imaginary pizza restaurant completely from scratch. This is the process that we follow at Kalman Web Design and what we would do if we work with you as a client. But you guys can steal our professional strategy here and implement it into your own designs and learn how to use AI, how to use Photoshop, and how to use Adobe XD for web design. I hope you guys stay around till the end today. I'm going to show you guys everything that you need to know to design an entire website today. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to go down in the comments and let me know. I will answer you, but for now, let's get started. Be opening Discord, and the AI art generator that I'm going to be using is called Blue Willow. So right up here, Blue Willow, this is open to use, and what I'm going to start with is my Imagine prompt like this. And then I'm going to type pizza restaurant. That's going to be the theme for today's video, is a pizza restaurant. We're going to do pizza restaurant full screen website design with black, red, white. You're going to be able to take the colors from this artwork that you create in Blue Willow and then just grab the colors in Adobe XD and start coloring everything a lot easier than if you start completely from scratch. And keep in mind, this design is probably not something I would directly show the client, especially if I worked with you guys. I would take this and then put it in Adobe XD and refine it down and make a few different models and a few different ideas that I could present to a client. So that's what we would do at Kalman Web Design. All right, so here's what we got with our first prompt. And as you guys can see, we didn't get exactly what we want. So I'm gonna copy this prompt again and we're gonna try it one more time. All right, so here's our second generation here. And what I want to do is go ahead and take this one and create more versions of it here. It's on a tablet. I'd rather it be on an actual desktop because that's where I want to start in today's video. But for the sake of today's video, we'll go ahead and use this one and we'll create some more variations by clicking V3 here. All right, now we have our variations here. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up and see which one I personally want to use. And again, if I were working with an actual client, I would come up with multiple mock-ups, multiple designs, and present at least 3 to 4 to them and see what they like the best. I'm gonna go ahead and go with number 2 right here. I'm gonna upscale that one. And then we are going to download that. I'm gonna put that in Photoshop and then further refine it. Here we go, open this up. And now I want to go ahead and open the image in a new tab. Open my snipping tool, go ahead and select this. And all we want is this portion. We don't want all the background and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of all of that. All right, and now we have our mock-up itself open in Adobe Photoshop. And what I wanna do right off the bat is go ahead and crop this down to our dimensions. This right sidebar is something that I don't like. I don't want that in the website. And we want this image here to take up the full screen. So we're gonna crop this all the way down like so here. Adjust this just a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and get rid of this black bezel at the top. So we just keep those 3 order options down. Then I'm gonna export this as an PNG. Now we have Adobe XD open and you guys can see some of my other designs down here. What we're gonna do is we want a new file. And then this is gonna start off with a artboard of 1920 by 1080, which is exactly what we want. We're going to grab our initial mock-up here and drag it in like this. And then we're gonna shrink that. And then this, you guys can see, it's not clean, it's not refined or anything. You guys can refine it more in Photoshop if you want. But for today's video, we're going to be using this. It's just a basic mock-up for ourselves. And then what we can start doing is actually designing some of our elements here in Adobe XD. So first what we want to do is create this header. So we want to go ahead and select our rectangle tool. And now we're going to go ahead and drag it like this. And then we're going to adjust what we have here. Make sure it goes up to the edges completely perfect. And then keep in mind, as you work in Adobe XD, it's gonna look a little bit smaller than what you guys think. So when I say this, when you export a component or anything that you wanna use in the actual development process, it's going to look bigger once you export these assets out. So everything in Adobe XD looks a little bit smaller than it really is. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go get our pizza logo here, and we're just going to use a quick Icons for Design plugin that we have installed already. And we're just gonna get a basic pizza logo. And obviously in real life, I would create this from scratch and create a custom logo. But for this video, I don't think it's as important as it usually is. So we're gonna go ahead and shrink that, and we're going to flip it as well so it's facing inwards towards our website design. And now we want that to be right in the middle of our header. And the red color from our design is what we're gonna be using. So we wanna hit fill, our little eyedropper tool, and then select that red color like so. And then what we want to do is actually start adding in our text for our pages. So what we're going to do is select the text tool, and I already have a font that I want to use here. We're going to go ahead and use Baskerville Oldface because this looks perfect for a pizza website design. And then what we're going to do is type out home. I'm going to change this to size 50, and then we are going to make this that same red color that we have over here. So go ahead and select that color again. And now we are going to drag this down to our header like so. And then what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna make this a light gray so we can see where we're working from for now. And then we'll go ahead and change that back to white in a little bit here. And then to copy these elements, just hold Alt and then drag, and you can get a brand new element like so. And then we're gonna keep this website brief. We just wanna have our home, our menu, and then we want about, and then I'm also going to create a button like so that highlights our order functionality. So we're gonna go ahead and use our rectangle tool again. And then to change the corners, you can go ahead and drag here, and then the option for exactly how much you want is over here as well. We're gonna go ahead and leave it at 62. I think that's perfect. Then we're going to change this to our red color like so. And then we're going to bring this down here. And then obviously this pizza place is gonna wanna sell pizza, right? That's what we want them to do. We want them to order. A lot of people when they're designing websites is they forget the point of the website. You want to make it clear and obvious to the client and or customer what you want them to do. You don't want them to have to search around all over the place and get confused and lost and everything like that. You want to keep it as easy as possible. So that's what we're doing here. And we're going to change this to order. Then we're going to make sure we're all aligned in the center here. And then we're gonna make sure our elements are spaced out. So now what we wanna do, and this is gonna be an extremely useful feature in Adobe XD, is once you have this set up, is you can make a component. So go ahead and click and drag and select all your elements here, right click, and then click Make Component. And then we're gonna go ahead and name this to Navigation. Group this order button here into another component. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Make another component, and this is going to be our order button. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and edit our main component here. So when you have a component inside a component, it's a little bit different, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. So go ahead and right click this and edit main component. So this one up here is going to be your parent component. Now if we change this, let's say we want to do order now instead of just order, it'll go ahead and change all of our components that we have in our entire website. So that's a really useful feature to have. And again, it's a little bit different depending on if you have a component inside another component. You can go ahead and copy and drag this header out, and that makes a completely new version of our header. So now what we can do is we can actually go back to our parent here, and let's say we want to change this to home page or something like that. It'll go ahead and change all of our components. But when you're doing this with components, you have to edit the parent component, not the child. So now you guys can see if I edit the child, it's not going to actually change the parent. So you have to keep track of which one your parent component is to be able to make sure this works, because it gets frustrating if you think you're editing the parent component, but you're actually editing the child component. And you guys can see up here how you can tell the difference between a parent and a child component simply by seeing that this block is filled in, and now this square here is not filled in. So that represents the parent to child relationship. We're gonna start designing our image down here at the bottom. So what we wanna do is, again, use the rectangle tool, and we're gonna get outside of this component because I don't wanna edit anything inside of that. So click outside. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna click and drag. And here's going to be our placeholder that's actually going to fill in our image. So what we wanna do is, I already have some images downloaded over here in my download section. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this one here. And what you wanna do is click from your computer and drag. And then when you place it over your shape here in Adobe XD, it'll recognize that you want to fill that up. But let's say if I put it in here and then I want to try and do that, it's not going to work the same. So see how it's not giving me that option now? So that file needs to come directly from your computer. So let's go ahead and go back here and go ahead and add our image in like so. And then when you have it in here like this, it's probably not going to be in the exact location that you want the image to be. So go ahead and double click it. That will give you access to the image itself. And then now we can actually move this. So we want our customers to be able to see that pizza going into the oven, make them really, really hungry. So the nice thing about this mock-up over here is it gives us a basic design on where everything goes, but we're probably gonna wanna change some things around. So now we're gonna go ahead and enlarge this a little bit, move it over so we can get our text and our button over here on the left side. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back up here and we wanna edit our component, make the navigation bar white again, because now we have a clear distinction between our options here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start adding in some text here down at the bottom. So we're gonna go, once again, select the text tool, and we're gonna call this restaurant Alvin's Pizzeria. And now we're gonna select it, and we're actually going to add it into our design here. So now you guys can see Alvin's Pizzeria, and now you can see we want this to stand out a little bit more. So what we're gonna do is we're actually going to add a little bit of a drop shadow here in Adobe XD. All you wanna do is click this option here, and then you wanna make sure this is set to whatever color you want the drop shadow to be. And then this is going to represent the opacity here. So we have a 16% opacity, and what we wanna do is we want more like 50%. And then this is going to change the angle of that drop shadow. We want it right off at a 45-degree angle. So we're gonna change this to 4, and then we're gonna change this to 4. And then now you guys can see, we'll take it off of here. Now you guys can see we have that drop shadow at a perfect 45-degree angle off to the right side of our text, just to add a little bit of depth and feel to our website. And then this option here is going to represent the blur of that drop shadow. So let me move this out again and show you guys what I'm talking about. If I change this to 0, there's gonna be 0 blur. All the edges are sharp on our drop shadow, but we don't want that. But we also don't want it to be 6, that's a little bit too high. So we're gonna change this to 3 like that. And now it's a little bit cleaner. Now we have our basic header and our pizzeria name right here. And what we wanna do next is go ahead and copy this component. So what you wanna do, especially since this is a component inside of another component, if I just drag this, okay, with Alt and then drag, see that green border around the edge there? That's saying that this is inside of my navigation component. And as you guys can see over here, that's what the case is. So what you can do is drag this out, but as you can see, it doesn't give us that option. So to get around this, we're gonna go ahead and delete that, and we're gonna go inside, copy this component, click outside, and paste like that. Now you guys can see that it's outside of our navigation bar component. So you wanna make sure that you're not clicking and adding components inside of other components throughout your whole website, because that's going to create a lot of confusion and a lot of distraction. So let me show you guys why. So if you select this component and just click it and drag it like that to create another one, let's say you want to copy this component somewhere. Well, now that component is inside that component, so you're actually copying that whole thing. And so that's not at all what you want. So you want to make sure that you're keeping the bounds of each component and keeping each element in your design where you want it, to make this as easy as possible on yourself. So now what we want to do is, obviously our artboard here is not big enough to actually make this bottom menu like that here. So what we need to do is click this, and this is going to click and select our entire artboard. And now we can click and drag this down just like that. And you guys can see it gives us the option for the artboard over here too. We can change it directly by adding exactly what we want. So we're gonna make this exactly 1930 like so. Now it makes that change. You guys can change the display to just like this, which way you want it to be displayed. And then what we want to do is make sure that for everything our responsive resize is enabled. So when we actually switch over to our smaller views, let's say we want to make a mobile view, everything's going to resize the best that it can. We're still going to have to make adjustments to it, but the responsive resize is definitely going to make that process easier. So now what we're going to do is, as you guys can see, when I readjust this, it's trying to resize everything. So we don't want it in this case, but you guys definitely want to keep this option in mind. Go ahead and remove this responsive resize from your artboard only. So we're selected on our artboard here like this. You guys can see that this is lit up blue. Now we want to take this off of our artboard so we can resize our artboard like that without adjusting anything. So that's what that's going to do. And now we want to go ahead and create this grid layout. So we're going to go back to our rectangle tool here, and we're actually going to drag out rectangles like so. And we're going to design each one, and then we'll simply just copy it over. We're going to get rid of our border here, and now we're going to change our fill to this color from our design. Again, the eyedropper tool, and then we'll go ahead and select like so. Now we have that black color in here. And now what we want to do is, since we have our images over here and places for text, is we want to go ahead and add another rectangle on top of this rectangle like so. So we want to go ahead and click and drag, get rid of our border. And then I already have all the images that I want selected. So we're simply going to add them in to our design here. I'm going to go ahead just like that. And then we want this to be rounded. I think it's going to look a little bit cleaner that way. So we're going to round this down to 32 like so. And then now what we want to do is go ahead and edit our text. Pizza 1, and we're going to come back and change this later on. We're not going to leave it as pizza 1. We're going to change that to 50, and this one we're going to start at $14.99. Now we're going to go ahead and create our add to cart button down here like so. We're going to round this all the way off again, and then we are going to select our color that we have on our other button. Maintain our color scheme that we have going on. And then we're going to simply put this to the left like that, and then we're going to copy our text down, move this to the front, add to cart. We are going to make this a component. So we're going to go ahead and click make component, and we're going to do add to cart button like that to make sure we're keeping track of everything. It's really easy when you're working in XD to start designing and not keep track of anything, but you definitely don't want to do that, because then it leads to a lot of confusion. And then what we're going to do here is we're simply going to bring this down one more time, and then this is going to show how many we want to add. So we're going to go ahead and click 1 like that, and then we're going to center this right in the middle. And then we're going to drag this over like that, drag this over like that, and then we're simply going to change this to minus, and then this is going to be plus. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add our circle tool in like this to make this a little bit easier to click on for our customers and make it just a little bit more distinct. So we're going to go ahead and move this backward here, send backward. Then we want to make sure that this is centered up perfectly here. Then we want to click and add this over here to our right side. So what we're going to do, we're going to change this plus again to black, just like that, and backward until we can see our little plus here. So now we can see it there. And now we're centered right up in the middle where we want. So now you guys can see we have the layout for our actual menu option. This is going to be our most popular pizzas. This is what we want to showcase to the customer as soon as they come to the website. And again, we want them to buy pizza. So we want them to know exactly what we want them to do. So see here, guys, how we're doing this. We have order here, okay? Then we have Alvin's Pizzeria. We have order again. Now, when you scroll down to our favorites, you have add to cart. So you can do everything you need to do from this home page, okay? You don't have to go down 50 different pages and try and find what you're looking at before you get to being able to order and add stuff to your cart. And we're gonna have this again on our menu page, but we immediately want the customer to be able to do what we want them to do on the home page. And so many web designers forget this, okay? This is a pizza place. They wanna sell pizza, okay? The biggest thing we wanna do is maintain professionalism and help this place sell their product. That's what we want to do and help out with as web designers. And a lot of people unfortunately forget that. So we're going to click again and drag into our element here like that. And that's why we created that separate rectangle, so we can use it to actually hold our image element. So now you guys understand why we created that. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually move this down a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to copy this text, Alt and drag. And now this is going to be pizza favorites. Change our font color to black. Again, this is something that I always like to think of as a web designer too, is SEO. So we want to include pizza, pizza near me, pizza restaurant as much as we possibly can, because once we develop this in HTML and CSS later on, our browser, whatever browser we use, is going to crawl this website. So if somebody types in their browser, pizza restaurant near me, okay, we want to have pizza restaurant, pizza near me in our titles, because now Google's picking up, okay, this is a pizza restaurant, this is a pizza restaurant that's near this potential customer. So we want to keep SEO in mind the whole time we're working through this. And I'm going to show you guys how we can do that with our images here in a second as well. So now we're going to go ahead and change this to black, get rid of our drop shadow. We don't want that anymore. And then we're going to go ahead and center this. And so going back to our images, what we can do here is, this is just pizza baking in oven, right? This is going to be an asset that we eventually export. So this is we're going to change this to pepperoni, meat, sausage, cheese, pizza in oven. So we want to add as many possible words that we can to this. Again, we're going to export this, and this exact title is going to be in our website, displaying our image later on. And again, I'll explain that more in depth once we actually get to the development stage. Now we have those keywords in our website, in our image. So Google or whatever browser you use is going to crawl it, and it's going to see, okay, sausage pizza. And now we have our SEO nailed down and different options that people might search up online in our website itself. So you want to make sure that these are named strategically. So go ahead and select this, hot homemade pepperoni pizza. So we're going to do pepperoni, cheese, pizza. And we're actually going to keep hot because that might be something that somebody would want to search for as well. Pepperoni, and change this to near me, because people, especially if they're in the area of this particular pizza restaurant, they're going to be searching pizza near me, pizza restaurant near me. So again, we want to include near me in our images here, because we're going to export these and include them in our website. And then we're going to simply click and drag this over like so. And then again, Alt and drag, and then we want to make sure these are all centered like this. Add this in here like so. It's going to be our cheese option, and then this is going to be our supreme option. So now we have so many different options that can be seen by our browser. We have pepperoni, we have supreme, and we have cheese. So if somebody searches up any of these, okay, there's a likelihood that Google is going to pull our website and put it at the top of the browser. That's what we want. So we want to make sure we include those keywords as much as we possibly can without ruining the user experience of our design, of course. And so we're going to go back and rename this to our pepperoni pizza. And again, you could just put pepperoni here, but pepperoni pizza, we want to have our keywords as much as we can. So we're going to go ahead and then do supreme cheese pizza. And then we're going to make sure this is distributed evenly. This is going to almost do it with our home page, but now what we need to do is actually create our footer here. So what we're gonna do, go back to the rectangle tool, click and drag like so. Get rid of our border. Then we're gonna make this a light gray so we can see what's going on while we're working on it. And then as you guys can see, there's a little bit of white space at the bottom there, which we don't want. Then we're gonna come back here and click and drag our text down here to the bottom. And then this needs to be, now what we wanna do is drag this down here, and we wanna change this color back to red. So eyedropper tool, and then we wanna go ahead and select our red color here. And then this is just going to be our website links again from our header. So we're gonna go ahead and hit home. It's not what we wanted. Drag this out, select all of these, hold shift. How I did that is click on this, then hold shift and select each element that you want. And then we're gonna go ahead, put this right at the top here. And then we're gonna go ahead and copy this, copyright Alvin's Pizzeria. Get our logo one more time. Again, control copy inside the component, click outside of your component, and then paste. And now you're outside of your component. And go down here, we want to have our logo one more time, make that a little bit larger. And then now we want to go ahead and add our plugin that we want to use. So if you don't have it already, go ahead and click browse plugins and then click icons for design. And now we want Instagram, so we're going to go ahead and select that one, move it over. And now we want not LinkedIn, but we'll go ahead and do Facebook. And I like this one the best, so we're gonna go ahead and go with that one. Going to make sure these are all evenly sized here. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and move this over like so. Move this one over a little bit. And then now we have our social media links. Then we're gonna go ahead and change this to that red, boom. So now we have our footer completely finished. We wanna make this a component one more time. This is going to be our footer component, Alvin's Facebook, because again, we're going to be exporting these later on, and then we're going to change this to Alvin's Instagram. Then we're going to go ahead and change this Alvin's Pizza Restaurant logo. Be as descriptive as we possibly can there, so our browser is able to crawl and add it to our logo up here at the top as well. And then we're going to add this little bar that we have over here in our original mock-up here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab our rectangle tool, just make a little nice bar at the bottom to add a little bit of color and a little bit of separation between our elements. Again, another important thing that you should think about is separation and cleanliness of your website. So now we have that little bar. Now we can go ahead and select everything again, move it up perfectly like that. Then click on our artboard again, and we can adjust this back up. And make sure you zoom in and get this perfectly down to the pixel. All right, so now we have our complete mock-up that we can actually bring to a client and show the client that we created. And we based it all around this AI generated art, but this is not perfect, so we don't want to actually show this to a client. But now we can go ahead and get rid of that. And now we have our complete layout for how our website's gonna look. Now what we can do is start creating the rest of these pages. But before we do that, we want to name our artboard here to Alvin's Pizza Home, and then we'll do full screen. And then normally I would create a tablet and mobile version of this, but we're just going to go ahead and focus on the full screen because this video is going to get really long if I start making all of those viewports. That's something we'll probably come back to in the future, and I'll show you guys exactly how to do all of that. So we're going to duplicate this page this many times like so, because that's how many pages we're going to have for our website. We're gonna have 4 pages for this website. All we need to do now is we can go ahead and remove all of this. And what we wanna do is add a little bit of separation. So we're gonna copy this, move it over like so. So that's centered right underneath our header. And then we're gonna go ahead and select these, move it down, make sure it's spaced out. So now we have that little bit of distinction. Without it, you guys can see that there's absolutely no distinction and everything looks like right on top of each other. So that's definitely not what we want. Add that back in. It looks just a little bit cleaner. And this is all important stuff. When it comes to web design, the big things matter, but the little things really, really matter. So little things to increase the user experience for your client or customer will go a long way to helping you guys earn more money, make more sales, sell more pizza, as in this case. Go ahead and select this, and we're gonna just simply click and drag it down like so. And then we need to go ahead and extend this artboard down like this. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of my images and change the titles for these bottom ones here. All right, guys, now we have our complete menu. We just have 6 options. In all reality, most places would have more options than this, so you would have to create more, but it's not too difficult to go ahead and do that once you have the template for one of these completed. So we have our pepperoni, our supreme, cheese, vegan, Italian, spicy. And now think about how I have this laid out, okay? Let's go back to our home page. Pizza favorites. Our favorites are pepperoni, supreme, cheese. So these are the pizzas that are ordered most of the time. So web designers don't think about this stuff all the time, but you have to think about everything and why every last element is placed where it's placed. And what I mean by that is, let's say we take these, which are our 3 top selling pizzas, and put them at the bottom of the menu. That's a really bad idea because we want them to be able to see the most popular pizzas that sell the most at the top, because that means when somebody comes to this website, they see our top selling pizza options before they see our pizza options that don't sell as much. So we make it that much easier for the user to find the pizza that they want. So we did this without the user even realizing it and making it that much more easy. So if we have, let's say we had 20 options and we put our most popular options all the way at the bottom, that wouldn't make any sense because we want our customers to see our most popular stuff first. But unfortunately, a lot of web designers just don't think about this kind of thing. Everything needs to be strategically done. So at the beginning, remember, these elements, let me go ahead and select one of these, were not rounded off at the edge, okay? This makes it look a little bit harder and a little bit less friendly to the eye and less friendly for the user. But now, this makes it look a little more homey and a little bit more kind, and it's more inviting. The page is more inviting to the user. So everything that we do is a strategy. Every element that we place is there for a reason. We don't have any random outlying elements that don't do anything, okay? You might say this bar does nothing. No, this is done strategically to add proper spacing to the eye so it looks cleaner, and it adds distinction between parts of the website to the eye. So everything in here is done for a specific reason. We don't have any random blobs flying around. We don't have any random stuff in here. Everything is strategically placed to help the user and help our client, which is our pizza restaurant, sell more pizzas and make it easier for people to buy pizzas. That's why we're designers, and that's so important to keep in mind as we go through this. So now we have our menu, and now we need to create our about page. And what we can do is go ahead and delete all of this up top. And we'll go ahead and delete all of our menu options. And then we'll just move this up. And then we also want to copy this over like so. About Alvin's, and we're gonna go ahead and add our rectangle in over here like this. This is where we're gonna have the picture of our owner. So, and I already have that picture ready to go over here. So we'll just go ahead and click, drag, add that. Gonna round these corners, rounded corners. So see how this is less inviting, but we want our owner to look inviting. So we round it a little bit, make it a little bit softer, a little bit more gentle for people to look at. Alvin's Pizza Restaurant. Now what we're gonna do is create one more rectangle over here, make this the same size as our rectangle on this side. And then we have this set to be rounded at 64. So we're gonna set that same standard over here, keep everything even and symmetrical as we work on this website, just like this over here. And then we wanna make sure these are all distributed evenly. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our text in here like so. So we're gonna go ahead and select our text tool. And now we don't even need to type any of this up from scratch anymore. What I'm gonna do now is go ahead and open ChatGPT. Create about text for Alvin's Authentic Italian Pizza Restaurant. And what we're gonna do is just go ahead and select, we don't need all of that. I like this part the best. At Alvin's, we pride ourselves on staying true to culinary heritage of Italy. Our pizzas are crafted. So we'll go ahead and copy that and go back to our Adobe XD design. And then we're gonna change the size of this to something like 30. Now that's a little bit too small, so we'll change it to 40. And then we'll paste this in like that. Now we have our text here. And then again, we want to add our order button. Go ahead and include our order button like so. Now we can go ahead and shrink this a little bit. We'll go ahead and select our footer component and move it up until we're spaced out evenly. Now we'll go ahead and adjust this. Now we want to make sure all our pages are correctly named. So we're going to do Alvin's Pizza menu here. Get rid of this one at the end. Make sure everything's clean, especially if you have to send this over to a developer that's not going to be yourself. You want to make sure everything's as clear as possible. About. And then now we just need to name our final page. This is going to be our order page, like so. And then what we need to do, get rid of all of this. And then we're just gonna make a simple form where everything can be filled out. And then we're gonna drag this over one last time. Then again, we're just gonna add a simple form in here. We're not gonna make this difficult for the customer. We just want this to be easy to fill out, easy to go, easy to get to where they wanna go. They want their pizza. They don't wanna be wasting time here, right? So let's go ahead and change this to 64 to maintain our consistency on this page. And then we'll change the form or color over here. Maintain that consistency, get rid of our border, boom, like that. And then we're gonna copy this title over, just like so. Get that in the middle, and then this is going to be our order page. And we're gonna call this checkout. We also wanna include our address. This is not real, so I'm gonna go like this. And we're gonna go with Austin, Texas. Just like that for our address. Then we're gonna add our options here, pickup or dine in. And we're simply going to add our little radio buttons here with our circle tool like so. All right, so we have our options in here. Now, pick up or dine in. Now what we wanna do is add a separator line with our line tool here. Go ahead and drag that, hold shift to make sure you keep that perfectly straight. I'm gonna go ahead and make this white. Change the border size of this to 5. Actually, we're gonna go ahead and make this red. So now we're gonna make sure this is centered. And now we're gonna need our customer's info. Now we're gonna create our actual fields in our form. Round this off just a little bit like so. Now we're gonna make sure this is again in the middle perfectly. Go ahead and drag this out. Make it like a dark gray, like this all the way up to the top. Use this to name, and then we'll add our asterisk like this. And we'll make this a little bit lighter so it's not so in your face. There we go. So now it looks a little bit prettier. And then all we need to do now is just copy this out. Whole thing here. Email, again, select everything, drag it out, and this is going to be the phone number field. And then all we need now is the payment, because we're only gonna take pickup or dine-in orders at this particular restaurant because they don't do delivery at this particular pizza restaurant. We don't have to worry about that one. And then now we can move our division line down here, create some division between our fields. And then now all we need to do is just copy this whole thing here and click and drag it. And then we're good to go here. That's as much as you can add more or less fields if you want. You should probably add a expiration date and everything like that to this video. I think that will suffice for what we need. And then we'll go ahead and adjust this like so. And then now we'll have our final button at the bottom. You can go ahead and click and drag. And then I want to see what proportions I have on this button here. So what we're going to do is that's 62, so we're gonna make this 62 as well. Shrink that down. Then what I wanna do is go ahead and get that text again, submit. Then we wanna copy all that over one more time. We'll add our cancel button. Order details. All right, so now we have our order details up here at the top, pepperoni pizza, and that'll display our customer's order and what they're getting here. We might come back once we start development, depending on how the HTML and CSS works out, and change this to a separate field, like something like this down here. But we'll go ahead and run with it like that for now. See if we like it. I'll think about that. Our last design here. So now you guys can see we have a complete website design for our pizza restaurant. We have the home page over here. We have the menu page. We have all the options we're gonna need to have to add or select items and add them to your cart to actually order them. We have a little bit about the restaurant here and the owner himself. And then we have our order page. This is all the essentials that you need for a restaurant website. A lot of web designers overcomplicate this and add way too many pages, especially for this type of a website. But for this, I think this is a good start. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back into Adobe XD and we're actually going to prototype this, meaning we're actually going to make it clickable and make it functional so we can actually send it to the client and they can click around and click on different options. It'll take them to different pages. And then from there, we're gonna start taking this design and developing all of this in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Visual Studio Code.